Everybody, I hope you're doing well. I just want to make a quick video. I've been driving all day, but listening quite a few times to the new Eric Clapton song, This Has Got to Stop. I just want to make a little review of the song. I think it's an excellent song. I'm so glad he came out with it. I think it's a great, upbeat, positive song with a great message for our times. A couple things I'll say about it. One, it's a good R&B song, and that's kind of interesting. Clapton's associated with blues and rock and roll. But that R&B sound is kind of an in-between sound, I've always thought. I guess, who was R&B? Sam and Dave. The Derek and the Dominoes was kind of supposed to be like Sam and Dave. And you definitely heard like R&B influences on Delaney and Bonnie stuff, his first solo album, and probably right on through. And of course, when I was a kid, like R&B, I associated kind of with soul music, like the Spinners, super duper good, by the way, the Four Tops, the OJs, the Mighty OJs. The Jackson 5, any of those old Motown bands, usually were pretty good R&B. Funk Brothers were R&B. But this is a good R&B song. It's upbeat. It's got a nice kind of laid-back, polished sound to it. One interesting thing, it's R&B, but in kind of old school R&B, but it also has kind of a updated sound. I would say it's got a little bit of a flavor of the 80s era Clapton, which is nice. In particular, I would notice it as his 80s era bass player, Nathan East. I think he played with him a lot in the 80s and 90s. And Nathan East was kind of a more contemporary bass player. In the 60s and 70s, Clapton was always playing with kind of old school bass players, which I like, by the way. Those are some of my favorite Clapton albums. But a lot of those old school bass players do like walking and shuffle type lines, and a lot of the newer bass players, would do some different styles and things that were a little more contemporary. And I think this does have a little more contemporary sound. It kind of evoked the 80s era Clapton to me, as well as kind of a 60s type song. I also think the guitar playing on it is really good. Clapton was is a great guitar player. I think this shows that he still has professionalism and tastefulness and technical excellence in his playing. It doesn't sound like he's lost anything or been incapacitated or anything. It's not a really flamboyant solo, but it's very tasteful and just what the song needs. I love the sound of his guitar. I'm going to have to check out one of those Eric Clapton signature Strats. I'm always playing with fuzz and reverb and delay, but the classic Clapton sound is that nice, clean sound, but it's still got that sweet kind of sing to it, that sustaining sing. It's a really good sounding guitar that he plays, and really, really nice. The other thing I'll say is his voice is really good. I think that shows that Clapton, he's never been really associated with singing. I think he's sung for years. He didn't sing much at first, but ever since the 70s he's been a singer, but that was never really the main emphasis, was it? It was always on the guitar, and a lot of his vocals were always kind of laid back, easygoing vocals, even when he would do a rocker. And so as he's gotten older, it's a lot of those songs, they tend to kind of lay pretty well for his voice. He wasn't someone that his singing was based on all these athletic, mega high notes and screams and, all this really, Highway Star or something. Those bands have a lot of trouble when their singers get into even their 30s and 40s to sing some of that stuff, especially if they do it a lot, let alone their 60s and 70s. So Clapton's kind of, to me, one of those guys. He's always kind of had a laid back voice, and it just kind of seasons and ages. I think his voice still sounds pretty good. Sounds really good. And the last thing I'll say is I like the message of the song that, that this can't go on forever. And I think that's a good message. And we all, I think all of us, whatever our thoughts are, can come together on the fact that, at some point all this has to stop, and we need to, nothing is so permanent as a temporary solution, and that's how we ended up in Afghanistan for 20 years, and probably, hopefully not another 20, because it's always temporary, but the end game and the actual goals are never that clearly defined, and you end up in a situation where you're there for years and years. And of course, at some point, you just got to stop doing that. The definition of crazy is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I think it's a positive message. I respect Clapton for making this song, saying what he thought, which we all can do. 110% respect for this great classic artist, 60-year career, and so many great songs. And he came out with another good one this week. This has got to stop. I hope you check it out. Thanks. God bless you.